Is this thing working? Are we live? It looks like we are live. What's happening, everybody? I hope everybody's having a fantastic whatever day you're watching this. If you are new to the channel, thank you for stopping by. This is my little corner of the YouTubes. Basically, this is a background noise generator. So, yeah, not a whole lot really ends up happening on the live show. It's my opportunity to interact with you guys directly through the chat side. It also lets me to work through different video ideas. If I've got something that just ain't gonna work out well for a normal video, we'll basically run it through on a live show. And if you guys have any questions about bikes that I've done testing with, or just whatever the case might be, now's the opportunity to jump in and get with it on questions, things like that. So anyway, checking in with you guys directly. RMAC is in saying what's up, like the name, but why the change? Playing around with a few things with the channel. The branding of B Mason just kind of ran its course in a lot of ways. I had been running that name for the last 8-9 years, whatever it was. And the problem is that that name got a little bit overly associated and saturated with car content. And although that's not necessarily a bad thing, it had gotten really stale and it had been overly done in that respect for a number of years, to be honest with you. So I want to basically rebrand as more or less just motorcycle, cycle moto type stuff. I don't really want to dive into the car side of it anymore, again, because of multiple reasons. And so it's just a bunch of boring sounding crap. So again, just kind of a bit of a rebrand, if nothing else, and to also help to attract folks that, they see B Mason, it doesn't mean anything to them. But again, it's just being a little bit catchier and a little bit more appropriate for where the channel is, to name it something that the channel is focused on. But there's going to be, there may be some other name changes coming. I've got a couple of them that I was just playing around with, but I like Cycle Moto because it's got like a weird, like a ring to it, like that Monster Quasimoto, Cycle Moto, goofy kind of stuff, like something that'll be not only catchy but descriptive. And it also has a little bit of that it's just a different flavor, and I like that kind of stuff. And if you ever see me on the thing, I'm Moto Psycho 1 is what I am, and that's the other name that this channel may end up. So if you see Moto Psycho, that it'll also be what the name ends up being. So we'll see how it ends up working out. Sam say, what do I call you? Just Mason. None of that. Nothing of what you call me is going to change, especially for you guys on the live show. Some of the newer guys might just call me Moto or Cycle or I don't know. Who knows what they're going to call me? But asshole is another good one. Anyway. But yeah, Sam is in. Let's see. Mickey's in. Moto Lord. Professor is still good too. You're going to be called Moto Lord. That is funny. Hey, Ryan. All right. Looks like everybody's coming in. Maybe Motorhead, like the band. Yep. What's funny is, Moto Psycho might end up being the name for it, but Moto, Cycle, it don't matter. Tim's checking in by the pool. I like it. Happy Sunday, my man. I like it. Tim's talking about the Moto starters. I'll tell you what, what's funny about, okay, so how can two bikes be so similar yet so different? For you guys that may have snuck in and saw the side-by-side comparison of the 750s, you may have also noticed that some other videos aren't public anymore. What I'm going to do is I'm going to also reset how I do the ride-along videos. There's one posting, matter of fact, right there. It's posting right now with Smokey, a.k.a. Shadow, a.k.a. Smoke Show. Anyway, that's going to be the ride impressions of the 16 tooth the 16 tooth front sprocket, the 16 tooth front sprocket on the GSXR 750. You're not going to be seeing any speed anymore. Mainly because, look, for obvious reasons, but the other side of it too is that it's not necessarily always accurate. So I'm going to go ahead and instead of blurring those out, I'm just going to eliminate that option. And if I end up deciding to do more of like a privatized channel or something like that, where I can show some of the other dumbassery that I find myself in, I may do that. But for the most part, speeds are no longer going to be published. Professor Ice internal combustion engine, I like it. I will say this. Okay, so how can two bikes be totally different? The crazy thing is, if you did watch that video, because it was only up for a short amount of time, and then I went ahead and took it down. But the way that the gray bike went around the blue bike at 178 miles an hour indicated, which is really more like 165, coming up on 170 actually, depending on which gearing calculator you want to look at. Anyway, the bikes are running really good. That gray bike is something else. But the funny thing is between the two bikes, there's really nothing the same about them. It's pretty funny. The spring packs feel different. Obviously the tires are different, but taking that out of the equation, the way that the bikes light off when you hit the starters is different, just with how fast the starters are turning. It's kind of funny. It just doesn't. Tim, what about Jixer, bro? I think that one's already taken. In fact, that guy's out of Dallas, if I'm not mistaken. Sammy fired up his tractor. So anyway, what I was just getting at is just how different those two bikes are and how good they both are. But I have to tell you, talking about that other video, which is in the process of uploading right now. In fact, that one will probably hit about, I don't know, 7 o'clock in the morning, Central Standard Time. It's so good with this 16 tooth front sprocket that I am at the point of debating on letting my 1,000 go. And the reason for that is the 1,000 just simply doesn't do anything better, practically speaking, than the 750. And I'm going to be doing a video about this. I am really on the fence right now with the leader bike stuff because I love my X-Star bike. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Absolutely freaking love it. The problem is that it doesn't handle better. It doesn't, maybe it stops better. I don't know. It's not more compliant going down the highway. So, and I do a lot of highway riding, getting to and from. It's really rough on tires, let's be honest. And there's just some things about it that are just not as savory. And the way I would describe it is, let's say you sat down at a steakhouse, right? And you said, I want meal one, and it's a big piece of meat and it's really thickly cut, but there's a lot of gristle to it, right? But it's great. It's an awesome cut. It's just the nature of the plate, right? Whereas the 750 is just a smaller portion, but it's much better quality. Think of it like a, really good filet, right? So if you think of those like that, that's kind of where I'm at with the leader bike. Man, I love me some leader bike, but the problem is that I keep defaulting to my 750. And the crazy thing about it is that I'm so used to the leader bike, though, that I feel like I can't get rid of it because it is a tool in the quiver that helps me to center whenever I'm doing ride reviews. Being used to a leader bike, and I'm not saying bored with it, but being so used to it that it is second nature to ride a bike like that helps me when I'm riding motorcycles like the K1600, the Hayabusa, the ZX14 when it shows up, the other leader bikes in the class. I feel like if I got rid of that bike, I literally wouldn't have that keel, right? I need that keel. And so that's probably why I won't let it go. It's why I will keep riding it, but it's almost more like I'm riding it for educational purposes, not because it's fun. And so I guess I got to think of it like going to school in a way and just keep being really good with a leader bike. Let's see. Sam's asking, will I be bringing any side-by-side content to the channel? Well, the thing with side-by-side content is it's kind of hard to do. I don't really have any place to take it outside of the parking lot of Stub Cycles. I mean, if that's what you guys want to see, I can always give it a go. But it would be whatever's in inventory, right? So, if there's something on the website that you want to see, let me know. But I just really don't have a good place to bring it to you. I don't think I would really do it justice. John's in saying, hi, all. Hello, John. Oh, Sam, I tell you what, my Honda stuff, all of my Honda stuff, but if it's been power equipment or motorcycles, like recreational, has always been really good. So, but anyway, that's kind of the update with the channel in a nutshell. I will say this. So recently, for you guys that may have been, for you guys that may not have seen it, I put a video out with the XSR 900 again. And the whole reason for the XSR 900 revisit was that bike was going to be a stand-in for the R9. The R9 is practically impossible for me to get my hands on to do a ride and review, guys. Every dealership that gets an R9 just is covetous of it. You know, they don't want to let the keys go for a ride and review for fear that somebody's going to get there and not buy the bike because it's got 20 miles on it. Go figure. Here's the reality. That R9 is in big demand. And I just can't get my hands on one, but I can get my hands on MT-09s and I can get my hands on that XSR 900. And here's my thoughts on the R9 when viewed from the lens of a GSXR 750 owner. And it kind of works out like this. How do I say this? Okay. If you are in the market for an R9 and you don't get a chance to ride it before you buy it, leave the dealership. I'm not saying this for effect. I mean this as a public service announcement. And I'm going to be doing a video. I'm going to be kind of hammering this point in. But it works out like this. If you don't get a chance to ride that bike and you come from, God forbid, a leader class bike background, seriously. But if you come from a 636 background, right? If you come from a GSXR 600, CBR 600, R9, if you come from any of those backgrounds into the R9, you need to make sure that you get an opportunity to ride that machine and ride it well. Because if you don't, you are going to leave that dealership with a bike that you're going to be disappointed with. And, oh, I understand what you're going to say. How could you be disappointed? It's got all this technology that it's hiding behind. It's got the CP3 engine, which belongs in every other type of motorcycle except a sport bike. Look, the XSR 900 for me won Sport Naked of the Year because it is so good at being a sport naked bike. It does everything exactly as I would hope that it would. And that's in a sport naked sphere. If you try to take the CP3, and I just got off the bike, okay, so I know how it runs. if you try to take that CP3 engine and put it into a chassis that doesn't weigh any less than the XSR 900 or the MT09, that bike, the R9 doesn't weigh any less. And you ride the thing, it's going to ride the same as an XSR 900, except for one thing, and that is that it has less aggressive gearing. It's got the same tune. It's got the same power output. It's got all the same everything. It's just got less than what the XSR 900 does. So this was my big takeaway. And one of the reasons why I wanted to ride the XSR 900 was to drive home the fact that that bike is truly that good. And I didn't want there to be any misconception or misunderstanding when I'm talking about the R9 in such a flaccid kind of way. It's just because that engine in an XSR 900 or in an MT09 is exactly where it needs to be. That engine in the Tracer 9 makes the Triumph Tiger 800 seem like the big, well, it was the biggest disappointment of 2025 for me. I have a feeling that, unfortunately, that as good as that engine is, it's just not going to be able to win over the hearts, minds, and souls of sport bike riders that are out there, which is one of the reasons why, as I was coming into this coming year, I was thinking, okay, well, look, you know, I got my leader bike and I got all these 750s now. I'm so much more partial to the 750. Should I keep the 1000? Should I let it go? I was talking to my buddy Orange Crush and I was going, man, listen, you know, should I get an R9? And before I had an opportunity to even throw a leg over an R9, which I haven't yet, let's be perfectly clear on that. But in thinking about all of this, I was going out of my mind just with the idea of, okay, do I get this bike for the channel? Well, let me ride the XSR again. I can make a great argument that it's a good opportunity to come back to that bike and start revisiting bikes that won an award this year and explain exactly why it won the award. And in the XSR, it just defaulted to R9 for me. And after riding it, I was going, my gosh, with as much time as I've spent with my GSXR 750s, that R9 would never, ever scratch the same itch that the GSXR 750 does. And look, say what you will about any other 600, especially the R6, but say what you will about any other 600, it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be as good. And, oh, well, we just got the notification that all checks are complete with the 16 tooth front sprocket. So video for the Gixxer 750, speaking of which. So anyway, the point that I'm getting to is, no, as it stands, I'm not going to be moving away from the leader bike. I'm going to be keeping it, but an R9 ain't going to come to the channel. After spending the time with the XSR 900, being able to play with it, have some fun with it, I've got to tell you guys, I'd rather have the XSR 900 than the R9. There, I said it. Because the XSR 900 is not trying to be something that it's not. It's not trying to accomplish something that it simply can't on its own. After riding the XSR 900, I can say that, you know, that bike with maybe another 10 or 20 horsepower would be too much for the XSR 900, but it would be ideal for a sport bike, a new gen middleweight sport bike at that, which, I mean, that would put it right in parity with the GSXR 750 at that point, right? So anyway, I just wanted to clarify that because there may have been, you know, some talk there. I was, you know, kind of going through my head a little bit about what I should do, what I shouldn't do, bikes for the channel, things to do for 2026. And as the R9 started to gain a little bit of momentum in the planning portion of this, all of that just came to a full on sideways screeching halt. Let's see. Bruce is saying, I was looking at GSXR 750 today. There's a place in Milwaukee, Wisconsin selling two 2026s for $10,999. I tell you what, I'm pretty sure they're going to be hitting you up for freight and prep with that price. I would say that that's still a hell of a good price, though. And right now would be the time to buy it because you're in the off season. So that's why they're probably forwarding that price to you. Typically in warmer climates, you're looking at about a couple of grand more than that. So if you can get your hands on it, I'd go ahead and scoop one up. Oh, Sam's liking his 1,000 and the side-by-sides, very smooth and very controllable. Sam, is that a twin, or I'm guessing that's a twin, huh? Sam says he's kicking himself for not getting one with a front locker. Yeah, if you've got a four-wheel drive, I would definitely get a front locker. Makes a big difference. Not like a performance thing either, just for if you're trying to do work with it. Oh, it's an inline four. Yeah, that's going to be a smooth running engine. So, but at any rate, I guess the point with all of this is I'm getting to is lots of fun stuff coming. I think there's some cool bikes that I'm going to try to get my hands on this year. But already kicked it off with a really neat one. Man, and could not have happened any sooner. The K1600. I've got to say that of the bikes that I've ridden across the board, you're going to be, as far as, I mean, I think you may have already seen your winner for 2026's year in review for most surprising motorcycle. That thing is a flipping monster. Okay, so let me give you guys a little bit of behind the scenes on that, because sometimes it's like what doesn't make it is even more interesting than what does make it to YouTube. Okay, so the K1600 that I rode, obviously it's a trade-in bike, and the previous owner had kitted it out with these seats that were incredibly awkward if you were not riding the bike. And the weird thing about it is that the handlebars they weren't beach cruiser handlebars, but they came, the things come up and back towards you, so you're kind of like this in a weird way. Anyway, that's a personal taste type thing, but the seat was really weird. And when I first sat on it, I was going, oh God, this is going to be awful. The foot peg, the rear brake, and my understanding is that I didn't really get too deep into this. By the way, my riding reviews, I don't get into all the specs and a bunch of nerd stuff. I'm there to ride it, show you what it's like to ride, get the thing down the road and have some fun with this thing, okay? My whole motto is, are you running it? Are you riding it? Are you having fun? I don't want to let details ruin a good story. And that's exactly what I don't really try to get too deep into anymore. So the brake, the rear brake pedal is humongous on this bike. I mean, it's big. It's got amazing brakes, right? But a weird, awkward, initially riding position. Once you gel into that, once you gel past that, I took the bike out for an initial run, and there was a bunch of like a traffic thing going on the normal Stub Cycles route. That's why I did a little bit different route this time. I took that bike out, did a quick U-turn, turned around and whacked the throttle in dynamic mode. And that bike started laying patch. And I mean, I just started fanning through the gears. I wasn't filming it. And it's just the sound of that inline six ripping in dynamic. I don't know if I went through dust. I don't know what I went through, but it wasn't at the Goodyear turnaround. It was at the street right before it was the turnaround right before Calais, where I make the normal U-turn and come back. It was the street before that. That's how bad it was. And the idea, what I'll typically do is I'll take a bike out and I'll run it real quick. It's not a fast or a long ride. I'm not trying to sort myself through the bike, so to speak, although it does solve that need. But what I'll do is I'll just run the bike, get it to temp, do all that kind of stuff. And at this stage of the game, Hunter and I were already playing with the K1600, trying to figure out a few things with it. It was already up to temp. So I take it out, I ride it, turn around, whack into the throttle, and it kind of steps out a little bit. So I instinctively pin it and grab a gear. And it just starts pulling this rolling burnout going up the feeder road. And I'm just hammering through the gear. You have to understand, the K1600, it's not a bagger type cruiser the way that like a street glide or a road glide is. It's not, it is a fully kitted out touring machine. Okay. It's a monster. It looks like a spaceship to me. I'm just fanning this thing through. Anyway, I tried to bring a little bit of that into the ride and review where I do that Goodyear turnaround, and it's kind of dusty over there anyway. And I'll kind of fan into the throttle. I'll let the bike step out a little bit. You'll hear me catch a gear and I'll start pouring in the throttle. And one of two things will happen. You'll either hear nannies start to kick in where you hear the bike go, row, 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 row. That's the nanny, traction on, pulling throttle or whatever. Or if it doesn't have any kind of nannies, like the best one's been the GSXR 600 of all bikes. That bike did the longest rolling burnout of any bike so far, I think. Did it? I think, yeah, it's got to be. Yeah, it's got to be the GSXR 600. Doesn't have any nannies. It just rips. So anyway, that's a little bit of the behind the scenes, but that bike was insanely quick for what it is, for any bike for that matter. But it was doubly fast for the weight and what you're playing with. But let me check in with you guys. Oh, Tim's saying, loving my GSXR 750, but really want to get a GSX S1000. Oh, that one came in second place this year. I'm a big guy, so feel the GSXS might have a bit more, but the 750 is just so good. Okay, so check this out. If you had a chance to watch my GSX-S 750 ride and review, that bike is so good that it darn near won Sport Naked. And I'm not even going to say that it's not going to win next year. That was a double podium finish in my book. The reason why it didn't win is because if I put another Suzuki on any other podium, I'm going to be called out as being a freaking fanboy, which I am. But that being said, the XSR, because that engine is shared across multiple lines, and because that bike was so pretty, and because it's so freaking fun, and it's affordable, that's the main reason why it won. But it ain't an honorable mention. I mean, it is a double podium finish for me. The GSX S1000, here's the trick with that bike. It is a bigger bike, but it acts a lot like the old, it acts like more of a hooligan bike. Honestly, it's got a ton of drive. It's incredibly intuitive to ride. And the quick shifter is exceptionally good. It's got a ton of character to it. I mean, it's the K5 GSXR 1000 engine. So it's the small bore torquey leader bike motor. It's making a flat 150 horsepower. I will say this, they're stock out of the box. They put like 136 to the rear tire with a ton of torque. And with a pipe and tune, they're at 150, give or take. So yeah, I mean, they're really that good to ride. And the throttle mapping, because the latest bikes all have electronic throttles, everything about that bike is good. So if you're thinking about getting one of those, don't think twice. I will say this. The only time that bike becomes a little bit taxing is over like say if you're going to do an extended period of time at about 120 or 130 miles an hour. Only reason why I say that is because there's no windshield, right? And I don't know if any of the fly screens really are all that attractive for that bike, but I can say this: going down the highway, it's not bad. Like normal speeds, GSX-S 1000 is actually a nice place to be. Oh, I will say this: if asked straight away, and this is for the North American market, about that bike versus the Hornet 1000, it's the Suzuki every single time is the way that I answer that. I understand that you can tune, pipe, or whatever the Hornet, but and I get where the price is, and the price came down quite a bit for the S1000. But I can tell you this: all that being said, the Suzuki is the better bike, in my opinion. I like the way it handles better. I like the way that the ergonomics are better on that bike. And I'll take it even a step further. You had the XSR 900, the GSX-S 1000 were the two front runners for the Sport Naked of the year. Mum's the word on this, but third place would have been the GSX 8R, and fourth place for me would have been the Hornet. In fact, the Hornet didn't even get a look. Oh, and the 8R would have actually been the 8TT. So, but it's still a retro, and I was having a hard time going, okay, this is a retro, but so is the XSR, but how do I play this? See what I mean? So I would have had to go with the 8T. And if I'm being totally honest, I mean, the Tuono, good Lord, the V-Strom, got that Tuono still in my head. The V-Strom already had locked in the Sport Utility Bike of the Year. I mean, it was not even, it was that bike, the Tuono, the BMW 850, believe it or not, was second place by the closest of margins. And the reason why the BMW didn't win was because the V-Strom did everything that the 850, the Suzuki did everything that the BMW would do, but the Suzuki is, I would say, about a zillion times more accessible to different kinds of riders. Big dude, little dude, female, male, fat guy, fat chick, skinny chick. They can all ride the V-Strom and have a great time with it and have fun. And it'll be manageable and you'll never outgrow it. And the GS 850 was just too tall. It had too much. It was just too much bike for I would say about 50% of the people that would be interested in it, just from a, like, how do you manage this thing kind of point of view. Let's see. Josh saying, oh, he's hanging out with Bruce. Also in the market for a 750. I'm in Waterford. Nice. Very cool. Yeah, you guys hook each other up, man. Support the guys that are in your communities, man. I love it. And listen, look, if you're looking for a 750, you guys know, look, I mean, it doesn't get any better than the GSXR 750 for me. It really doesn't. I mean, you can literally, look, I am, as I'm sitting in this chair right now, I'm sitting right at 195 pounds in gear. I'm like, what, 205, 210, whatever. I can get on that bike as it sits in the showroom floor. And I mean, I'm not kidding when I tell you this. Check the chain, check your levers, make sure it's got oil in it, put gas in it, fire it up. Tire pressure looks good. Send me on my way, and I can rail on that bike. No problem with it. If I cut weight and I drop down to say 175, 180, I will not even have to touch the suspension on that bike. Not even slightly. And if somebody heavier than me gets on that bike, say that is in like the 220, 225 range, 230 range, you ain't gonna have to touch nothing either. That's how good that bike is. And it is so easy to ride. And it's not just the Gixxer 750, it's the 600 is like that too. If you're a much smaller guy, say, you're between 120 and 150 pounds, I mean, a Gixxer 600 ain't a bad place to be either. And it's got the same suspension. And according to K-Tech, it's got the same spring rates. It's the same everything. So I get along great with both bikes. And I guess that's really the biggest takeaway. You don't have to worry about setup on that bike. You literally just buy it, ride it, enjoy it, maintain it, insure it, gas it right, and all of that. And that bike will last you indefinitely. Stay tight with with all of your maintenance. And then, once every 10 years, put a new rectifier in it, put a new starter in it, put a new battery in it, whatever, do your little electrical upgrades, put your brake lines in it or whatever. And you're good to go. Bruce is saying he's 6 foot 210 in his draws. I like it. Then you and I are really not that far off. And yeah, I'm just shy of 6 feet tall. I'm about 5'11", and with a 32-inch inseam. And like I say, the weight within the same category. So yeah, you're in great shape. Sam, I'm a fat guy. I'm not sure if I'll fit on a bike. You'll fit on a bike, don't worry. Some are just going to be harder to get on than others. But so getting back to it, like the sport utility. Oh, by the way, this is the funny thing. I had some clown trying to argue a point. And by the way, just some other things. I am not engaging on comments. I'll talk to the folks that are, legitimately coming into comments, but anybody that is like trying to be divisive just because they're lonely, or I don't know, maybe I don't, anyway, I'm not really, I would play with it a little bit, but I had too many of those at one point. So now I'm just delete. And it's just not worth my time. But I had this one clown that I just deleted recently. What was this clown saying? Something to the effect of, adventure bike versus sport touring. Didn't like that I called it a sport utility bike. What else was there? I can't remember most of it anyway, or really any of it, except for it was just along those lines. And anyways, complaining about made up terms. Like, I was like, is this motherfucker real? Like, so I'm not going to argue with a robot, basically, is what I'm saying. I'm not going to argue with an NPC. So, but one of the things I like about the sport utility class of bike, with that V-Strom being a part of it, is that you can be a bigger dude and be able to throw a leg over it, and it's easy. If you try, like here's one for you, Pan America, the Harley Davidson Pan America. If you're a bigger dude and you try to like heave a leg over that thing, it is tall. And what's even worse than that is the Triumph. The Triumph's even worse in terms of how high that thing is. Sam saying 5'11", 265. Dude, you made heavyweight class. I like it. Where you saying you're always going to run into clowns in the comment section. Oh yeah. And Sam saying terms change in different markets, which is exactly true. These are descriptive terms and they are fluid. And that's the thing. Once somebody had gotten on to me about saying, calling a 600 a hypersport class. Well, the problem is the reason, and I was like, how do you want to argue? There's got to be other things to argue, but my justification for that is, okay, I'll make up my own term. Absolutely, I will, because I've got to define a term. A sport bike now includes it used to be sport bike would be like a Ninja 600, a GSXR 600 and the like, right? But there wasn't really a super sports class or a hyper sports class, so to speak. I mean, people would talk about them in that way, but then super sport started to take on all of these other bikes. And I'm going, well, wait a minute, those really aren't super sports. And like, so is the more hyper bike the super sports? Anyway, I was like, it's like a hyper sports bike, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, somebody, I don't know, decided to try to gatekeep their way through that one too. And I was like, delete. So anyway, I always think it's funny when folks really try to get on a high horse and, you don't understand. This is in conversation. I ain't freaking submitting evidence to a judge over here, for crying out loud. I didn't quite, whatever. Tim's saying, 120 kilos in 6'7", and I've been riding Gixxer 750 for years. Just have handlebar risers. That's the way to do it. Bruce is saying 264.55 pounds. What's so funny is that I have gotten so used to using the metric system that sometimes it's weird for me to make the switch into pounds. I know I want to say I walk around at like 91 kilos, right? I want to say is what my weight is in kilos, but yeah, I mean, I've associated shapes and sizes of things basically to kilograms now, and pounds and things like that. I mean, I guess I'm more easily related to that, but because of, just the way things are, you end up getting more used to the metric system. And so, yeah, he's like 264. That was definitely the Google conversation. I love it. Yeah, but yeah, I definitely, and getting back to the 750, a lot of taller dudes ride them. And here's the cool thing. You can adjust the foot pegs down or back just from stock. And I've adjusted mine back. So I don't think maybe I did mention that in a video. I'm not sure. Anyway, for my bikes, I've taken the rear sets and I moved them to their rearward position. And the reason for that is that bike, when you go to tuck, you got to remember it's still a smaller bike in general. And what's cool about the Gixxer 750, something I really like about that bike, is that it is extremely accommodating for folks that might have like a 26 inch or 27 or a 28 inch inseam versus 32, 34, 36, 38 with the further back position or the lower position. So you can be comfortable on that bike. And that's something that, again, it's just one of the cool accommodations that you get with that particular motorcycle. My favorite term change is economy car in the U.S., Chevy Cruze and other markets. It's a Geo Metro. What's funny is that we don't have economy motorcycles. I tell you something, I'm surprised that we don't. Something along the lines of, okay, roll with me on this. I get it, scooters, okay, but scooters are really, anyway, I just, look, a standard, well, I guess you do. Like the Rebel 500 would be an economy bike, I suppose. But nobody really markets them as an economy motorcycle. Like you won't hear anybody talk about a Royal Enfield like a 350, for example. You won't hear that bike sold as an economy bike, although it kind of is. Tim Jeffries. Yeah, 265. 265 pounds. Yeah, it's 264.555. Bruce had to bust out the Google calculator. But yeah, we don't have anything like that. Yeah, and I'm surprised that Well, I'm not really surprised that there isn't that, but in a way, I kind of am. The way that some folks come to motorcycling. I will say this though, one positive thing, and I'm got to have to check out here in a minute, but one positive thing that I've noticed lately, a lot more folks coming into the dealership. When I've been going by there for the ride reviews or what have you, I'm seeing more fresh faces, more folks coming in. Um, and that's always a good thing. And it's always good to hear folks that are just now getting into bikes. And for whatever reason that brought them to it, it's cool to see that. And so I would say that the state of the industry, at least in the very short term, looks to be positive, where we've got more folks that are getting interested in bikes and they're looking at that Rebel 500, or they're looking at that, it could be anything really. They're that GSX 8R, something like that. They're getting into those types of bikes. And I love seeing that, because these are now folks that are going to start having a lot of fun. They're going to get a lot of cool life experiences with this new activity and endeavor that they're getting into. So that's always good. I like seeing that. Over here checking the clock. I have got to we are just a little, so the live show is going to go from 30 to 45 minutes now. Not going to be doing the super long live shows anymore either. But mainly that's so that it's digestible. And I get it. Listen, I'm like the background noise generator. I get it. A lot of guys might have me on in the background while they're trying to nod off. I get that. So sweet dreams if you are, but you'd probably already be asleep. Probably be asleep about the first 5 minutes with me yammering on. But anyway, but I have I have a little bit of like I say, an admission. I've been thinking about changing the name of the show for a while, or changing the name of the channel, I should say, for a while. And a lot of it has to do with just making the channel name fit the channel's content a little bit better. And so, but nothing's really going to change. It's still going to be me doing the same stuff. We're still going to keep doing the shows Tuesdays and Saturdays, usually around 9 o'clock Central or lunchtime in Australia for Tim. But we're still going to be doing those shows. And actually for Tim, it would be Wednesdays and Sundays. But mainly making sure that that you guys know that I'm really not changing up too much. It's just a name and just a bit of an ability to kind of rebrand and again, just have something that fits a little bit better for what we are going to be up to here. Sam said, closest thing we have to an economy bike is the Monkey. The Monkey and the Grom, I tell you what, dude, those Grom guys are nuts, aren't they? I tell you something. I know that they love them, and I love them for it, man. There are some killer ass Groms running around there, and the Ruckus. I don't know, man. I got a thing for the Ruckus. I like that thing. Tim's checking out. Adios from Tejas, my friend. And the Z125. Yeah, there's not a lot of like what you would consider like road bike worthy type of an economy bike. Yeah, we're talking about the Rebel 500s of the world and those types of machines. But anyway, guys, with that, listen, I do have to go ahead and wrap this up. Listen, as always, love each and every one of y'all. Would not do this without you. Get out there and do something cool for somebody, because chances are they need it way more than you know. But with that, I got to check out. Hope to catch y'all on the next one. Take it easy.